Eli Marlowe wiped the sweat from his forehead and squinted at the pile of alien metal in front of him. The scrapyard stretched endlessly above the barren surface of Orin 5. Orbiting a forgotten, dusty planet, twisted frames of starships, hulls torn open and engines cold, floated like tombstones in the zero-gravity yard. Most workers avoided the deeper sections, warning of collapsing metal and unstable power cores. Eli, however, thrived on the challenge. He had always been different from other humans, and certainly from the aliens who looked down on him. His small stature and human hands were underestimated. But his mind never was. Where others saw junk, Eli saw potential. A cracked hyperdrive? Repairable. A broken energy shield? Reprogrammable. He had rebuilt engines the size of apartments with nothing but scrap and ingenuity. And today, something had drawn him to a part of the yard that no one dared enter. The section was dimly lit, illuminated only by faint warning lights flickering from broken consoles and the glow of distant stars through shattered hulls. Eli maneuvered his floating platform carefully, his gloves gripping a console panel as he drifted between piles of debris. He had been scavenging for days, looking for anything valuable, anything that could be repurposed, and then he saw it, a hull unlike any other. Massive, sleek, and silent. It was buried under layers of twisted metal and broken cargo containers. At first glance, it looked abandoned, like a relic from some ancient galactic war. But there was something different about it. Its surface reflected light in a strange pattern, almost as if it were aware of him. Eli's curiosity spiked. He had seen hundreds of alien ships in his life, but nothing like this. He floated closer, running his hand along the smooth hull. The metal was cold but strangely resonant, humming faintly under his touch. He pulled out a small scanner from his belt, letting it hover in the air as it scanned the ship. The readouts flickered in a language he had only partially learned. Power systems were offline. Life support offline. Navigation systems offline. But the core was intact. Eli's heart skipped a beat. Ships like this didn't just exist anymore. They were legends, stories told in whispers by old engineers and retired pilots. And here it was, buried and forgotten, as if the galaxy had decided to erase it from memory. He carefully began removing debris, moving containers and twisted hull pieces with his grav plate. It was tedious work, but his excitement grew with every layer uncovered. Hours passed, and Eli worked in silence, focused entirely on the ship. Finally, he floated back, breathing hard, as the full outline of the vessel emerged. It was enormous, stretching over 100 meters long, with a sleek, aerodynamic design that seemed almost alive. This is incredible, he whispered to himself. He scanned the ship again, more thoroughly this time, running diagnostics and tracing the faint traces of energy that still pulsed through the core. There it was. The ship had memory storage. And not just logs of technical data. The ship had seen the galaxy. Battles, diplomacy, and maybe even tragedies. Eli's mind raced. If he could awaken it, he could uncover secrets no human or alien had known for centuries. But first, he needed access. The hatch was sealed. The locking mechanisms ancient but sophisticated. Eli rolled up his sleeves and started working. He had no instructions, no schematics, just intuition and experience. Hours turned into days as he painstakingly bypassed alien systems, rewired broken circuits, and reactivated dormant modules. Every time a console flickered to life, his excitement grew. Finally, with a spark and a low hum, the main hatch slid open. Eli floated inside, his eyes widening. The interior was dark, but illuminated panels blinked faintly, reacting to his presence. Strange symbols glowed on walls, responding to his touch. It was clear the ship wasn't just a machine, it was aware, waiting for someone to awaken it. He approached the bridge, where a massive console dominated the room. As he touched it, the ship hummed louder, and lights traced along the walls like a heartbeat. Eli froze. The hum became a pulse, almost like the ship was breathing. "Hello?" he whispered, unsure if he expected a reply. The console flickered, projecting images into the air. Stars, planets, alien fleets, and strange battles he had never seen. Then words appeared in a language he didn't know, but somehow he understood. Not with his mind, but with a feeling. The ship was communicating, recognizing him. "Human, you are capable. You may awaken me." Eli's jaw dropped. This was no ordinary starship. It had intelligence, memory, and awareness. And it had chosen him. His mind raced. If he succeeded, he would not just be a mechanic, he would be the one to bring a forgotten legend back to life. For the next week, Eli worked tirelessly, floating through corridors, rewiring broken nodes, calibrating energy conduits, and repairing systems. It was difficult. He had no guidance, no help. He relied entirely on his understanding of mechanics, his knowledge of alien technology, and a growing trust between him and the ship. Slowly, systems began to respond. Lights glowed steadily, engines hummed softly, and navigation consoles displayed star maps. He discovered the ship's capabilities in fragments. Its shields were adaptive, able to adjust instantly to threats. Its engines could manipulate gravitational fields, giving it unprecedented speed and agility. And its memory stored centuries of galactic history, long lost to even the most advanced civilizations. But with every system he restored, Eli became aware that the galaxy might notice. Energy readings were rising. Sensors beyond the scrapyard could detect the awakening of a vessel this size. He was taking a risk, and yet, he couldn't stop. Then, on the 7th day, it happened. Eli connected the final core interface, and the ship shuddered as it fully powered up. Panels lit up across the bridge, energy coursed through every conduit, and the ship's hum became a steady, powerful rhythm. He floated back in awe, watching as it awakened, its presence filling the dark scrapyard. "Welcome back," Eli whispered. The ship responded not in words, but in images, memories of its past missions. He saw glimpses of distant worlds, wars fought and won, civilizations protected, and secrets hidden in the farthest reaches of space. And he realized something extraordinary. This wasn't a weapon. Not yet. It was a guardian. A vessel built to protect, explore, and endure. Eli knew the galaxy would soon notice its awakening. Aliens who had ignored humans might finally see what a single human could accomplish with creativity, courage, and determination. And he felt a surge of pride, not arrogance, but the quiet satisfaction of having restored something thought lost forever. As he floated toward the bridge's central console, Eli allowed himself a small smile. He was just a mechanic, rejected and underestimated. But now, he held the key to awakening a force the galaxy had forgotten. And somewhere deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. Outside the scrapyard, stars twinkled. Somewhere in the vastness of space, watchers might be noticing the strange energy signature rising from Orin 5. For Eli, the thrill was simple. He had restored the impossible. He had awakened a legend. And he had done it as a human. Alone, clever, and determined. The ship pulsed again, as if agreeing with him. "The galaxy isn't ready for us," Eli said softly. "But maybe I am." And with that, the forgotten starship hummed louder, ready to awaken fully, and the story of humanity's ingenuity in a galaxy that underestimated them was just beginning. Eli Marlowe floated in the bridge of the starship he had awoken, staring at the blinking consoles and the vast starfield beyond the reinforced viewports. The ship, which he had named Aegis, pulsed with energy like a living creature. It was enormous, far larger than any human or alien vessel he had ever encountered. And its potential was beyond imagination, but powering it up fully was a challenge unlike any he had faced. For days, Eli worked tirelessly. The ship's systems were ancient, some of its technology centuries ahead of anything humans had built. Many circuits hummed with life, yet refused to respond to standard commands. Panels glowed with alien symbols that shifted when he touched them, as if the ship itself were learning him. Eli didn't have a manual. He didn't even have guidance from his own people. All he had was experience, intuition, and an unshakable determination. His hands moved quickly, connecting wires, rerouting power conduits, and recalibrating sensors. Sometimes, when a circuit wouldn't respond, he would float away, thinking silently, testing different solutions, and returning to the task with renewed ideas. Each time, the ship seemed to respond, humming brighter, glowing warmer, and sometimes even vibrating slightly, as if pleased with his success. Aegis had secrets of its own. While examining the navigation systems, Eli discovered maps of distant galaxies, some of which he had only read about in scattered human archives. Entire star systems were charted, complete with planets, moons, and space stations unknown to any civilization alive today. The ship had traveled through war zones, diplomatic missions, and even explorations of uncharted space. Eli realized that he was not just repairing a vessel, he was reconnecting the galaxy to a history that had been forgotten. Eli also discovered the ship's defensive systems. Aegis could generate shields that adapted instantly to any threat, redirecting energy and reinforcing weak points faster than any known alien technology. Its engines could manipulate gravity fields, allowing it to accelerate, decelerate, and maneuver in ways that seemed impossible. And there were weapons systems, but Eli made a deliberate choice. He would not use them. The ship was a tool, a guardian, not a weapon of destruction. As he floated through the corridors, Eli began installing improvised upgrades. Small drones, built from scrap parts he had scavenged, moved alongside him, carrying panels, tools, and power cells. He had programmed them to follow his instructions automatically, anticipating his needs. It was hard work, exhausting, but Eli thrived in it. He loved seeing the ship respond to his ingenuity, solving problems that alien engineers had failed to overcome for decades. Yet, he was not alone in the galaxy. Strange energy readings, increasing day by day, began to attract attention. Scouts from distant fleets and corporate overseers noticed unusual activity near Orun 5. Alien authorities, curious and cautious, began sending vessels to investigate. Eli was aware of them but had little fear. He was human, small, and underestimated. But he had something that no alien could replicate: imagination and quick thinking. One morning, as Eli floated near the central energy core, he heard the faint sound of alarms not from the ship, but outside, in the scrapyard. Through the viewport, he saw a patrol ship approaching. Its hull glinted in the light of the distant sun, and its sensors were scanning every inch of the orbiting debris. Eli's mind raced. He could have fled, hidden, or attempted to disable the patrol, but none of these options appealed to him. Instead, he smiled. "I guess it's time to test you fully," he said to the ship. "Let's show them what humans can do." He activated a series of systems he had been cautiously connecting over the past week. The ship hummed louder, and lights traced along its exterior. Aegis seemed to awaken fully, responding to his commands instantly. Panels flickered with star maps, sensors extended to scan the patrol ship, and tiny drones moved to shield weak points. Eli guided the vessel manually, not with brute force, but with clever strategy. He didn't fire weapons. Instead, he manipulated gravity fields to make the patrol ship drift harmlessly away from the scrapyard. He adjusted the ship's mass and velocity, creating illusions of movement that confused the patrol's sensors. The aliens could not understand what they were seeing. One small human, alone, controlling a vessel thought to be dead, was outmaneuvering their entire fleet. The patrol finally retreated, reporting back that the energy readings were anomalous, possibly dangerous, but they could not explain the strange phenomena. Eli grinned. "Not dangerous," he whispered. "Just smarter than you think." Over the next several weeks, Eli continued to test and improve Aegis. He explored the planet's orbit, mapping debris fields, testing engine outputs, and fine-tuning the ship's adaptive systems. Every day, he discovered new capabilities: emergency shields that could protect entire colonies, energy redistribution systems that could power entire stations, and sensors that could detect threats light years away. He realized that the ship was not just advanced, it was revolutionary. Through it all, Eli grew closer to the ship. Aegis responded to his creativity, his curiosity, and even his humor. Panels blinked in patterns he interpreted as approval. When he made a mistake, the ship adjusted itself, compensating for human error without judgment. It was a partnership, one that relied on mutual trust and respect. But the awakening of Aegis did not go unnoticed for long. Messages from distant fleets began appearing, requesting explanations. Corporate overseers demanded answers. Curious explorers tried to investigate the unusual readings. Eli had to be careful. He could not let anyone interfere before the ship was ready. He used clever disguises, false energy signatures, and decoy drones to mislead potential observers. One evening, Eli floated in the command center, reviewing the star charts the ship had revealed. He noticed several uncharted systems nearby, possibly home to civilizations that had never been contacted. A spark of excitement lit in his chest. With Aegis, humans could explore these systems, learn their histories, and connect the galaxy in ways no one else could. He imagined the possibilities, discoveries, alliances, and the chance to prove that humanity was more than what aliens assumed. Yet, he knew there was danger. The galaxy had not forgotten the ship entirely. Some ancient factions might recognize its signature and see it as a threat. If they assumed it was a weapon, chaos could follow. Eli had to prepare, not for battle, but for clever diplomacy and strategic thinking. The first true test came unexpectedly. A small alien reconnaissance vessel appeared near Orin 5, drawn by the energy signatures. Eli activated Aegis's sensors and prepared for a careful demonstration. He maneuvered the ship so it hovered gracefully above the planet, lights pulsing rhythmically. Panels projected holographic star charts, showing the ship's harmless intentions. The aliens approached cautiously. Through careful displays and subtle adjustments, Eli communicated that the ship was operational, but not hostile. He showcased its adaptive shields without deploying them in aggression. He demonstrated the engine's speed and agility without threatening movement. Slowly, the alien observers realized that this was not a weapon of destruction, but a vessel of incredible intelligence, guided by a clever, resourceful human. The alien crew communicated among themselves in rapid bursts of sound and symbols. Eli, though he did not understand their language fully, could sense their realization. Humans were not weak. One small human, alone, had awakened a forgotten legend and demonstrated control, strategy, and ingenuity that no alien mind had anticipated. Eli allowed himself a small smile. It was a moment of triumph not because of destruction or domination, but because of creativity and intelligence. For once, humans were not underestimated. They were respected, even from a distance. That night, Eli floated above the ship's core, watching the stars twinkle outside the viewports. Aegis hummed gently, its systems glowing softly. He felt a deep satisfaction. He had not only repaired the ship, but he had also proven that humans could think, adapt, and solve problems in ways that surpassed brute strength or sheer technology. But deep inside, Eli knew this was only the beginning. The awakening of Aegis would draw attention from across the galaxy. Fleets, explorers, and governments would want answers. Some might approach with curiosity, others with suspicion, and some might not understand humans at all. Eli shook his head, floating back to the bridge console. "Let them come," he whispered. "The galaxy hasn't seen what humans can do yet, and they're about to." For now, he allowed himself a rare moment of rest. Aegis hovered silently, its systems monitoring the orbiting scrapyard and scanning distant stars. But the ship's potential was fully alive now, waiting for the next steps, the next discoveries, and the next challenges. Humanity, small and underestimated, had awakened a giant, and through ingenuity, creativity, and relentless determination, One human mechanic had begun to show the galaxy that humans were a force to be reckoned with not through violence, but through intelligence, innovation, and courage. And somewhere in the distance, watchers beyond Orin 5 might have begun to whisper the first signs of respect, and perhaps even fear, of what a single human could achieve when paired with a legendary vessel. Eli floated back to the central console, fingers dancing over holographic controls, heart racing with excitement. He had done the impossible. He had awakened Aegis. Eli Marlowe floated in the bridge of Aegis, the starship now fully awake and alive with power. The hum of the engines, the steady glow of the shields, and the pulse of the energy core made him feel like he was at the heart of something greater than anything humans had ever known. The galaxy had started noticing. From the orbit of Orin 5, Eli could see distant flashes of movement, alien fleets, small at first, then larger, converging toward the source of the strange energy signature. Messages of inquiry, curiosity, and caution were flooding the galactic communication networks. Some assumed a human presence would be minor and harmless. Others, seeing the energy spike from Aegis, assumed danger. Eli had no intention of hiding. He had worked too hard, awakened too much potential, and proven too much to remain in the shadows. But he also knew that the galaxy's first impression could determine whether humans were feared or respected. He needed to demonstrate something the galaxy would never forget: human ingenuity. The first approaching vessels were sleek alien scouts, moving in formation to investigate. Eli analyzed their movement patterns quickly. They were cautious, predictable, relying on rigid calculations. Eli smiled. Predictable patterns were easy to use. "Let's see what they make of creativity," he said to Aegis. Using the ship's gravity manipulation engines, he created subtle gravitational distortions around the scouts. Sensors flickered as the ship's navigation system struggled to compensate for the invisible forces. To the aliens, it appeared as though the human vessel was moving unpredictably, almost with intention beyond physical laws. But in reality, Eli was simply thinking ahead, calculating each movement with logic and creativity combined. The scouts hovered, confused, scanning the space around Aegis, trying to determine the source of the anomalies. Eli projected holographic star maps and energy signatures, demonstrating the ship's adaptive systems. The scouts observed but could not comprehend the scale of the human advantage. A single mechanic had unlocked a ship that could adjust instantly, adapt, and outthink their every maneuver. Eli was careful. He did not attack. There were no weapons fired, no destruction. Instead, he relied entirely on intelligence, creativity, and strategy. He anticipated their movements, guided Aegis gracefully, and demonstrated capabilities that no alien vessel had ever achieved. Slowly, the scouts began to retreat, reporting back to their fleets. It was the first proof. Humans were not just survivors, not just laborers, not just a small species overlooked in the galaxy. Humans were thinkers, innovators, and problem solvers, and Eli was their ambassador. Soon, larger fleets arrived, including representatives from galactic authorities. They approached cautiously, sending messages demanding explanation. Eli responded in kind, but carefully. He projected star charts, demonstrated the ship's non-hostile adaptive systems, and even performed calculations in real time that showed efficiency improvements and navigational solutions the aliens had never imagined. The galactic observers were stunned. A single human had mastered a vessel that had lain forgotten for centuries. Its adaptive systems, intelligence, and potential for exploration were remarkable, but it was Eli's ingenuity, his ability to think beyond the rigid logic of alien systems, that truly impressed them. "Humans, underestimated," whispered a scout pilot to another. "But remarkable." Eli smiled at the thought. That was all he needed. Respect, not fear. Recognition, not violence. He knew the galaxy could thrive if humans were allowed to explore, innovate, and contribute. But it was not just about showing skill, it was about proving humanity's value. Eli projected holograms of distant star systems, showing planets that had never been charted, routes that had never been explored, and potential alliances waiting for understanding and communication. He demonstrated that humans could solve problems, navigate chaos, and find solutions where others had failed. The fleets hesitated. Some were curious, some cautious, but none acted aggressively. Eli's demonstration was simple yet profound. Intelligence and creativity, not brute force, could command attention and respect. Over the next few weeks, Eli and Aegis began to establish communication with alien fleets, sharing star maps, historical data, and exploration insights. He revealed systems forgotten for centuries, solved navigation problems that had baffled alien engineers, and demonstrated technologies without violating any rules of engagement. Everywhere he went, humans were no longer underestimated, they were admired. But Eli did not stop there. He began training small teams of humans in advanced engineering and alien technology, teaching them to think creatively, adapt, and solve problems quickly. Aegis became a floating school, a center of innovation, and a symbol of human potential. Alien observers visited, fascinated by the humans' methods. They saw mechanics solving impossible problems, humans repairing systems thought to be beyond repair, and humans using intuition in ways no AI or alien could replicate. It was during one of these demonstrations that a senior alien diplomat approached Eli. He was cautious, calculating, and curious. "Human," he said. "Your methods, they defy logic. Yet they work. You have awakened not only a vessel, but the potential of your species." Eli nodded, floating beside the console. "We don't just follow logic. We adapt. We imagine. We try. Even when others say it's impossible. That's what makes us human." And Aegis, well, Aegis needed someone who could think like that. The diplomat studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Then humanity has shown the galaxy that intelligence and creativity are forces just as powerful as fleets of warships. Perhaps more so." Quote, quote, Eli's heart swelled. This was what he had worked for. Not conquest, not domination, but recognition. Humans could be more than what others assumed. They could explore, innovate, and change the galaxy through ingenuity alone. And change it they did. Over the following months, humans and aliens began to collaborate on joint exploration missions. Aegis led the way, demonstrating new pathways, new methods, and creative solutions to ancient problems. Humans repaired alien stations, adapted alien technology, and solved crises with imagination rather than force. Everywhere they went, humans became respected, valued, and appreciated. Eli, once a rejected mechanic overlooked in a scrapyard, had become a pioneer, an ambassador, and a symbol of what humanity could achieve. And yet, he remained humble. He never claimed the ship as his own, never sought titles or power. Instead, he focused on teaching, exploring, and proving that humans could rise above expectation through intelligence and creativity. One quiet evening, as he floated in the bridge of Aegis, Eli gazed at the stars. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders, mysteries, and opportunities, and humans small, clever, and underestimated had begun to carve their place among the stars. He allowed himself a small smile. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. Eli reached out, touching a console lightly. Aegis responded instantly, lights pulsing like a heartbeat. He whispered softly, "We're just getting started." And with that, the ship surged forward, exploring uncharted systems, charting unknown planets, and showing the galaxy the true power of human ingenuity. The story of humanity's rise was not one of violence, conquest, or fear. It was a story of curiosity, creativity, and courage. A single human mechanic had awakened a forgotten giant, and in doing so, had reminded the galaxy of a truth long overlooked. Humans were special, capable of wonders that even the most advanced civilizations could not imagine. Above Orun 5, Aegis glowed like a beacon. Below, the stars stretched endlessly, waiting to be explored. And for Eli Marlowe, the adventure had only just begun. The galaxy had watched, and now it had learned. Never underestimate a human.